Mueller dismisses top FBI agent in Russia probe over possible anti-Trump texts. Robert Mueller, the special counsel leading the Justice Department's Russia collusion investigation, removed an FBI agent from the case over possible anti-Trump text messages, Fox News confirmed Saturday. The agent has been identified as Peter Strzok, one of the agency's most experienced and trusted counterintelligence investigators, said The New York Times, which first reported the dismissal. The allegations came to light after the Justice Department's Inspector General started examining Strzok's messages. Immediately upon learning of the allegations, the special counsel's office removed Peter Strzok from the investigation, Peter Carr, a spokesman for Mueller, confirmed to Fox News. Strzok also worked on the FBI investigation last year into whether then Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton mishandled classified information through her use of private email servers while Secretary of State. During this investigation, Strzok was allegedly involved in an extramarital affair with FBI lawyer Lisa Page, according to The Washington Post. Lisa Page completed her brief detail and had returned to the FBI weeks before our office was aware of the allegations, Carr also said in his statement, though it was not immediately clear to which allegations he was referring. Mueller was appointed in May to lead the Justice Department's investigation into whether President Trump or any of his associates colluded with Russia during the 2016 White House race. Mueller took the assignment after Attorney General Jeff Sessions recused himself from the probe, amid accusations that he didn't fully disclose a conversation with a Russian ambassador. Strzok was reportedly reassigned this past summer from the Mueller investigation to the FBI's Human Resources Department, according to The Times. A lawyer for Strzok declined to comment.
H.R. McMaster, potential for war with North Korea increases every day. H.R. McMaster, President Trump's national security advisor, said Saturday that the possibility of war with North Korea increases every day. The problem over its nuclear program isn't solved. I think it's increasing every day, McMaster told Fox News' Brett Baier at the Reagan National Security Forum in California. It means we're in a race. We're in a race to be able to solve this problem. Added McMaster, there are ways to address this problem short of armed conflict, but it is a race because he is getting closer and closer and there's not much time left. Last week, North Korea fired its highest ever intercontinental ballistic missile, flying 1,000 miles higher than during its first ICBM launch in July. McMaster told Baier that North Korea dictator Kim Jong-un's nuclear ambitions are the gravest national security threat that America faces. The greatest immediate threat to the United States and to the world is the threat posed by the rogue regime in North Korea and his continued efforts to develop a long-range nuclear capability, he said. McMaster added, so it's immensely important that we work together with all of our allies, partners, everyone internationally, to convince Kim Jong-un that the continued pursuit of these capabilities is a dead end for him and his regime. A senior U.S. official told Fox News on Saturday that the North Korean ballistic missile fired last week did not survive the re-entry to the Earth's atmosphere, but broke up on re-entry. Still, the president's national security advisor said North Korea is improving every time it conducts a test, even when it fails. What is clear is every time he conducts a missile launch, a nuclear test, he gets better, McMaster said. And whether it's a success or failure isn't as important as understanding that over the years he's been learning from failures, improving, thereby increasing his threat to all of us. During the forum at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in California, McMaster denied that the recent guilty plea of his predecessor, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, on Friday has rattled allies. Speaking of special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russia's meddling in the election, McMaster said, I've seen no evidence of the investigation in any way impeding the important work we're doing.
Legal experts split on what Flynn guilty plea means for Team Trump. Former White House National Security Advisor Michael Flynn pleaded guilty Friday to lying to the FBI about contacting Russian officials on behalf of then-President-elect Donald Trump. The plea by Flynn, the first White House official to be charged in special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation, electrified Washington and set off intense debate among legal minds about what it portended for the future of the Trump White House. Andrew McCarthy, a former assistant U.S. attorney, argued that Flynn's admission may not be a significant break in Mueller's investigation. Flynn, like former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, is being permitted to plead guilty to a mere process crime, McCarthy wrote on National Review Online. For all the furor, we have a small potatoes plea in Flynn's case, despite extensive collusion evidence. McCarthy went on to argue that it is becoming increasingly palpable that, whatever collusion means, there was no actionable, conspiratorial complicity by the Trump campaign in the Kremlin's machinations. McCarthy also noted that Mueller's other significant criminal case, against Trump's former campaign chairman Paul Manafort, has nothing to do with the 2016 election. However, Los Angeles defense attorney Ken White, himself a former assistant U.S. attorney, posted on Twitter that he was not as confident as McCarthy in the absence of a wider conspiracy. You generally spell out the entire conspiracy in a cooperator's guilty plea, in many cases, White wrote. With more sophisticated cooperators, you play the cards closer to the vest. Yes, you'd get a drug mule to spill to the whole conspiracy and a plea to lock them in, White added. A Flynn? Maybe not. National security lawyer Steve Vladeck echoed White, tweeting that the story isn't that Michael Flynn is pleading guilty. It's what he's giving Mueller in exchange for such a minor charge. We may not know the answer to that for some time, Vladeck added, but I have to think it's substantial. Fox News judicial analyst Andrew Napolitano was less circumspect, characterizing Flynn's plea as a nightmare for Donald Trump and probably the tip of a prosecutorial iceberg. However, Napolitano also told Shepard Smith reporting that if Trump told Flynn to reach out to Russian officials after his election last year, that may not be an impeachable offense, though they certainly are in the category of offenses that are impeachable. Beyond this, the President of the United States has steadfastly, repeatedly and consistently denied that he had any knowledge of any involvement with the Russians, Napolitano added. If General Flynn contradicts that in a credible way under oath, we have a very serious problem on our hands. Senate passes major tax reform package. The U.S. Senate voted just before 2 a.m. ET Saturday to pass a sweeping tax overhaul worth roughly $1.4 trillion, putting the Trump White House a big step closer to its first major legislative victory, and many Americans closer to a tax cut. The vote was 51-49. With Republican Bob Corker of Tennessee the only member of the GOP to side with the Democrats in opposition. The bill is still not yet finalized. Saturday's vote means the Senate and House have passed similar tax reform plans, but negotiators from both chambers will start meeting Monday to agree on a single piece of legislation that both chambers must approve before it is sent to President Donald Trump for his signature. Here's how the latest legislation would affect you. What deductions can I claim under the Senate bill that just passed? The Senate bill does away with federal deductions for state and local income and sales taxes, but allows deductions of up to $10,000 in local property taxes. The legislation originally eliminated federal deduction for all state and local taxes, but the property tax exemption was later added at the insistence of Senator Susan Collins, Republican Maine, who said she was delighted about the change. What about personal deductions? Like the House bill, the Senate bill nearly doubles the standard deduction level to $12,000 for individuals, up from $6,350, and $24,000 for couples, up from $12,700. Any other deductions I could claim? The Senate bill retains the current limit for the home mortgage interest deduction to interest paid on the first $1 million of the loan. The House bill reduces the limit to $500,000 for new home purchases. The Senate version also preserves the deduction for medical expenses not covered by insurance. The House bill does not, but ends deductions for moving expenses and tax preparation. Why does the Senate bill allow deducting medical expenses not covered by insurance? Because the Senate bill also repeals Obamacare's individual mandate, while the House bill does not. If Obamacare's mandate is repealed, thousands of people are expected to drop their health insurance, raising the cost for those who decide to keep it. And the personal exemption? The Senate and House bills both eliminate the $4,050 personal tax exemption. Will the tax brackets change at all? The Senate bill keeps 7 tax brackets, but reduces them to 10, 12, 22, 24, 32, 35 and 38.5%. The current brackets are 10, 15, 25, 28, 33, 35, and 39.6%. The House measure condenses 7 brackets to 4, 12, 25, 35 and 39.6%. I own a small business. What would this mean for me? The Senate bill allows owners of so-called pass-through businesses, that is, businesses that aren't incorporated, to deduct 23% of their earnings, and then pay at their personal income tax rate on the remainder. This issue was a key concern of Senators Ron Johnson, Republican Wisconsin, and Steve Daines, Republican Montana, both of whom announced this week that they would support the bill. What about corporate tax rates? Like the House bill, the Senate bill cuts the current 35% rate to 20%, but the Senate bill calls for a 1-year delay in dropping the rate. When will tax reform take effect? President Trump and congressional Republicans had vowed to make tax reform law before the end of the year. If that happens, most of the provisions would come into force on January 1st. Will tax reform affect my returns for this year? The changes will not have any impact on your taxes for 2017, which are due to the IRS by April 17, 2018. You get an extra 48 hours to file because the traditional April 15 due date falls on a Sunday. So when will the differences in the bills be hashed out? The House will vote on a motion to go to conference on the tax bills on Monday evening. The Senate is expected to vote on a similar measure soon after. Congress is scheduled to adjourn for its Christmas break on December 15, but House Speaker Paul Ryan has said he will keep the House in session beyond that date if necessary to get tax reform passed.